This video contains minor spoilers for The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I won't be going into heavy story details to make this video more watchable, but be aware there will be some footage from random points in dungeons, some non-spoilery cutscenes, and just lots of general gameplay and discussion. If you want to go in completely blind, then I'd recommend coming back to this video once you've beat the game. Enjoy. Hey folks. So, Echoes of Wisdom is finally out, and I can say that I've finished the main story. What a game. This is what we needed in the series following the two titans of games that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were. This smaller, whimsical adventure that follows Princess Zelda instead of Link is genuinely one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had in the series, and in today's video, my first ever Echoes of Wisdom video post-release, I honestly just want to talk about why it's so amazing, and why if you're on the fence or sleeping on this game, that you should play it right now. Be sure to go and grab yourself a snack and drink, folks. Drop a cheeky wee like down below, and consider subscribing for more fabulous Zelda content coming your way. And let's get into Echoes of Wisdom. The opening section of Echoes of Wisdom is grand. As seen in the game trailers leading up to release, we had a rough idea of how the game will open, and it was just as cool as it looked. It begins with us playing as Link, traversing some old, ancient ruins. You take out a few enemies, navigate through the ruins, and after not long at all, you find Princess Zelda trapped, guarded by Ganon. This enters us into a fight against the beast that wields the trident. Despite starting on full hearts along with our strongest arsenal, the evil triumphs and manages to suck Link into a rift. In the nick of time, Link is able to make a dent in the seal over Zelda, allowing her to break free after the hero was engulfed into the rift, allowing us as the player to control Princess Zelda. The rift begins to rapidly spread, and the gameplay suddenly turns into us trying to escape the ruins before Zelda joins Link in the depths of the mysterious rift. Some stuff happens following this, but I won't go into any details to avoid spoilers. And then suddenly, we're learning the new mechanics with our new companion Tri, and our new item, the Tri-Rod. So much happens so quick, and whilst trying to teach us how to play, and the game does a brilliant job. The pacing is perfect. The methods in which we learn the new mechanics are effective. It's a perfectly balanced and paced opening, not taking too long, nor being rushed, teaching us the right amount to truly start our adventure. I'll be structuring this video in segments. Just now, that was the opening segment, but let's now move on to another aspect of this game. The world and exploration in this game is simply brilliant. It's not complex, it's well crafted and perfectly fits the vibe of this game. The world might be somewhat familiar if you've played A Link to the Past or A Link Between Worlds, but even so, it feels very fresh and exciting to explore. It's vibrant, cheery, mysterious, hazardous, and full of twists and turns of all sizes around every corner. There are major regions such as Central Hyrule, the Gerudo Desert, the Faron region, Elden Mountain, Lineru Mountain, Zora Waters, and of course a mysterious misty forest. Within each of these areas there are countless NPCs, often with fun side quests or mini-games, even just nice dialogue bringing life into the world. The rifts breaking out across the world draw a lot of intrigue to us as the player, but also everyone across Hyrule. The game looks stunning, very crisp and polished. When this style first debuted in the series with the Link's Awakening remake, I wasn't so sure about it, but this game has definitely changed my opinion, and the art style is growing on me, but like myself, it's more than just looks. The way you actually get around the world is really cool. The new Echoes and Bind ability are a big part of moving around, whether that's climbing up a wall you'd normally never have been able to in a Zelda game. Perhaps it's creating echoes of your strongest enemies to clear out a moblin camp. Or maybe there's a piece of heart atop a pillar, and you have to bind to a spider to scale up and grab it. Or cheese it with water blocks, which I started doing once I had them. Regardless, the way you traverse the world is really cool, and creates a nice pacing to the game too. Instead of just walking from one side to the other, you're given these creative tools to forge your own path. A similar idea, but yet really different concept to the mechanics of Tears of the Kingdom. I'm a big fan of all the races in this game too. The Gerudo, Zora times 2, Gorons, and Deku are all in this game, and they all have different characteristics to each other, which really defines them as a group. There's also new people in the game, which I won't spoil, but wanted to note. One last thing on the world and exploration that I love is the side quests and mini games. All across the world you'll come across characters with little tasks for you, as well as bigger tasks that might take a wee while. This gives us even more reason to explore and see parts of the world we might not have otherwise. The mini games are also great. They feel very Zelda minigame-y, if that makes sense. One of my favourites so far is the Mango game found in the Gerudo Desert, which is quite tough at the higher seeds by the way. Despite this world being significantly smaller than the last version of Hyrule we saw, it feels so rich in size and life across the world. It's brilliant, and I cannot speak highly enough of how much I've enjoyed traversing this version of Hyrule. Now, a different aspect of the game that I really want to talk about, and I'm really excited to talk about, is the dungeons and puzzles. I'll try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, so I won't mention any dungeons by name, the context of what's going on in the footage, or any bosses. The dungeons in this game are elite. They were all so good in my humble opinion. Now, maybe part of that is having not played a new dungeon that feels like a classic Zelda dungeon in a while. I really loved the dungeons in Echoes of Wisdom. They're all themed, and this is a big part of the puzzles within. Like my praise for overworld traversal, which sometimes ties into the puzzles, my praise for the puzzles within the dungeons is so high. This is probably my favourite part of Echoes of Wisdom. The way these puzzles get you thinking and using the new mechanics is brilliant. Nintendo and Grezzo absolutely cooked when it came to the puzzles. Dungeon after dungeon, I just kept saying how great they were, and they just kept getting better and better. One example of this is what you can see on screen right now. Using Echoes and Bind, you have to figure out a way to change the conditions of the room's temperature, only you have to do it through the course of multiple rooms. You'd use these balls to set the temperature, and that would transfer to the next room. Sometimes the balls were inaccessible until the room had changed, as well as other varying factors. It was like a chain of puzzles making up one larger puzzle. There was an underwater puzzle where you had to swim up through a strong current, which we obviously couldn't do as it kept pushing us down. Using Bind to a nearby box that could float up to the top, we managed to follow its path to get past the strong flow of water. There's so many puzzles I could list off, but I want to keep this as spoiler free as I can. As a general type of puzzle, I really loved ones where you were cut off from one half of the room by, say, bars, and you had to use echoes on the other side to unlock the door. A good way to describe how fantastic these puzzles are is saying that they make you think outside of the box. Only you then need to think outside of that box. You're thinking outside of the box, outside of the box. They're so geniusly designed and constantly pull that off from the very beginning to the very end. It's a masterpiece in puzzles from start to finish. Zelda puzzles are so back in Echoes of Wisdom. They're really my favourite thing about the game. And they never felt too easy. They sometimes felt a little bit too hard, which honestly isn't a bad thing. They were just so good. Okay, enough about just the puzzles, or I'll ramble all day. The dungeons themselves are pretty solid. They all have a sort of quest to build up to the actual dungeon itself, as well as a section in the Rift world. Some quests are bigger than others, but they're all really fun, and in the case of the regional themed dungeons, these quests really give us a good feel of what to expect going in. It also helps to tie the world together, as ultimately, the problems plaguing the land are tied into the dungeons, which affect the people of Hyrule. We're not just beating dungeons for the sake of it, we're helping out the people of Hyrule as the Princess of Hyrule. There's plenty of variety to the dungeons, and the formula/order that we do them in is great too. Without saying what comes when, I just love that at some points you can only do one certain dungeon, and at other points, you have the option of which dungeon to do next. It's a cool blend of linearity and openness, and who can forget the climax of dungeons, the boss battles. I won't speak very long on this at all, as that would require spoiling some, but the bosses are good. I really enjoyed them all. Even the ones I liked a little less than others, they were still fun. The dungeons all round are very solid in Echoes of Wisdom. Oh, and did I mention the puzzles are pretty good too? Because they are. They're so good, man. Something else I'd like to talk about with this game that you might find interesting if you haven't played the game yet, or in the early stages, or even if you have, Echoes of Wisdom really feels like it addressed a lot of what many fans wanted back in the Zelda series following Breath of the Wild. I remember really well how many times I saw people saying how much they wanted more traditional dungeons, music, puzzles, and so on. This game gave us that. Yes, it isn't a fully 3D game in the same way that the past two are, but it's a Zelda game, and that's all that matters at the end of the day to me as a Zelda fan. Now, I should clarify that the past two games lacking certain things isn't necessarily a bad thing for them individually. For example, it made sense for the world to be a lot less lively as it was post-apocalyptic, but that did have an effect on losing a certain type of charm we commonly find in Zelda games. It was different, and it worked for that game, but overall, it did miss a little bit of Zelda feel to it. Echoes of Wisdom has a very lively and alive world around us. There's plenty of towns, villages, and settlements all across the map, in a variety of sizes and conditions, all filled with fun, interesting, and sometimes even mysterious characters with their own story. The game, as I went into earlier, has really good and clever puzzles. The past two games' puzzles often felt quite easy, as if it was just a process to progress, and lacked thinking outside of the box at all. Echoes of Wisdom completely sorted that out with its puzzles. They're so creative and really get you thinking, which is a core part of Zelda games. Another thing is that the story is actively taking place. There isn't this entire other half of the story that already happened in the past. It's all actively happening. There's nothing wrong with backstory, but when it's half of the overall context, it can be a bit hard to feel connected with the story. On top of all of that, the game also runs a bit more linear, which is kinda something a lot of fans wanted back. Not straight up linear only, but more of a blend, which is admittedly easier to do in an open world game. But even in Echoes, there is a bit of a blend, as with the dungeons you have one that you must do, then an option between multiple, one that you must do, then another multiple choice section of the game. I quite like it personally. One other small thing that I think helps with all of this is that Echoes has more reoccurring stuff. I can't say what exactly without spoiling some things, but if you know, you know. Obviously, it's hard to compare a fully open 3D adventure to a more compact but honestly still fairly expansive game. But in general, I feel like Echoes of Wisdom definitely captured a lot more of that classic Zelda feel that fans were craving. In terms of the 2D, top-down, half 3D, whatever we call this type of game, the smaller Zelda games, I'd put it right up there with the very best, which for me is the likes of the Minish Cap, my favourite 2D Zelda game. Echoes of Wisdom is that good for me. I've thoroughly enjoyed the main story, and I'm really looking forward to playing all of the side quests and getting the pieces of heart and trying to 100% the game. It's genuinely one of the most fun experiences I've had with Zelda games. I really love this game. But what do you think about it? What are your thoughts, favourite things, and overall feelings on the game so far? I'd love to hear, so be sure to leave a wee comment down below, and I look forward to reading and replying to them very soon. Thanks a ton for watching. If you enjoyed, then be sure to leave a wee like down below, as well as considering subscribing for more fabulous Zelda content coming your way. If you didn't already know, I have a Patreon page and YouTube channel memberships as a way to support the channel beyond watching my videos, which is already massively appreciated by the way. This financial backing really helps to support me making these videos and bringing you my very best Zelda content. You'll get access to my inside scoop posts, a shout out when you join, and your name at the end of my videos. Any and all support is massively appreciated. If you'd like to keep up to date with me, I've got my socials linked down in the description as well as my Discord server where you can chat to myself and many other wonderful Zelda fans. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night folks, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.